the General's Workshop. Today I'm going to show you something that you didn't know that you needed. The Librian Ladder inside your shop. Alright you guys, so way back when, this was probably a little bit over a year ago when I first moved into this place, this was 850 square feet of just raw potential. I was so excited, so I started to build it out. Now we're on that on the opposite end where it's all built out. And one of the things you're going to notice is that most of my structure is built to about 8 feet, right? Now, notice the ceilings are 12 feet tall, but notice this very distinct line around the shop. If you go to the opposite side over there as well, you can see kind of the man cave area. Again, there's a use line where everything kind of stops at about 8 feet. And so one of the things I want to do is add dimension or height, if you will. So I came up with this idea for this ceiling to floor shelf system. This was my initial plan. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. For me, a lot of the ways that I do my shop upgrades is I build a portion of it and then I sit with it for a month or two to see how I actually utilize it. I always remember the story from back in college. There was one college where they basically did this brand new park area. They put in no sidewalks. The genius behind this was they waited for a couple months to see where the students were walking, and then they put down sidewalks in those paths. Genius, right? So for me, rather than building a full system that I think I'm going to use, why not wait and see how it actually works its way out? In this particular case, that's exactly what I've done. So I've been utilizing this, guys, and I'm almost embarrassed to add, I'm almost embarrassed to say this next one because the honest truth is, it is all about convenience, right? First world problems. I mean, it's like, how grabbing this ladder, which is literally right behind the shop, can become such an arduous and a mundane task. It just blows my mind. But the honest truth is, it's there, right? So from a convenience standpoint, rather than having to walk out there where I have to put it back down, now bear in mind, as I was saying earlier, on an average day here in Northern California, it could be well above 100 degrees. In fact, I think, what's today, Robert? Isn't today supposed to be 100?
100, yeah, 102.
100 degrees. Yeah. 102, right? So, I don't want to go out there, right? I love my Mr. Cool. It's keeping me cool. And therefore, I'm Mr. Cool now. Oh, I like that. Hey. All right. So with that being said, the other factor that I wanted to kind of highlight is just going to be obviously the safety. All right, you guys. So here's what we're going to do. Let me show you this. This is 1.5 inches. Right? That's 1.5 inches. Now that's not a problem when you're just using it to go from point A to point B. But when you're actually having to carry something, that gets pretty challenging to balance on. And I want you to take a note of this. This is a standard ladder. Look at that. When you look at the distance from side to side, that's just over 12 inches. Now, why that's important is because your base of stance matters. So when I'm going up, right, obviously I'm not going to stand like this. I'm going to separate my feet as wide as I can in order to get a wider base of support. So safety-wise, I'd like to make a ladder that, one, has a larger tread or depth-wise. So I'm going to use 2x8s to do those. And then also the length, rather than 12 inches, honestly, I think I'm going to go to 20, right? When you start looking at that, that's going to allow me to have a stance of shoulder width apart for me, right? And that's going to help significantly. And then of course, I'm going to make mine a little bit taller so that we have convenience and that we also have safety wrapped into one, okay? There's two topics that I noticed that people really struggled with when they're getting ready to build their ladder. And that was, one, what is the length of the ladder? And then two, what should the angle of the ladder be? And when I watched a few different videos, a lot of them were kind of giving what felt to be guesstimations. And so I went and I kind of checked out a few things. I checked out the OSHA website so that, one, everything we're doing is going to be to OSHA standards, if you will, as it relates to height, angle, and rec. The one thing I'll point out is, one, measure the bar height. Okay, so let me show you this. Right, I can tell that right here to this center line, you can actually see we're on the pipe fitting. I'm going to actually make a measurement. So I'm going to show you guys. If I recall, this was 103.5. And hot dang. So that's 103 inches and basically a half, or 103.5 as far as height. Now, if I were you, what I would do is I would just add roughly, what I did is I added 6 inches. Now, You might ask, if you're going to be buying yourself, let's say a 10-footer or whatnot, could you not just leave it? And the reality is at the 15-degree angle, which is what we're going to be using, is when it comes up, that upper part is going to start running into the tote. So another consideration that you guys have to look at is when the ladder is down, does it stick up above the shelf? And you want to make sure that it doesn't. Why? Because when you're trying to get these boxes off, you don't want it to be running into the rails, if you will, of the actual ladder itself. So 103.5 inches tall. Let's add 6 inches onto that and make our cut. Now, that establishes our actual height, okay? Now, the other thing that I thought would be really important for us to talk through is the angle. Have you ever thought about like this angle here? Right, this is a ladder. This is going to be a little bit different. But OSHA's recommendation is this: for every 4 feet of rise, you have 1 foot of run. Does that make sense? So every 4 feet that you go up, so in my particular case, I would take that 103.5, or in your case, if let's say you're going to do a shelf, you're going to do a ladder that's up to here, you would measure that distance, right? Take that distance, divide it by basically, well, 4 feet, or basically if you equal that out, 48 inches, right? That will give you the distance that your ladder needs to come out. Now, for you, I can guarantee you a 4 feet rise over a 1 foot run is just going to give you, I believe it's 14 point something. So for simplicity's sake, let's just call it's 15 inches. It doesn't matter if you're building a ladder for here, here, or there. If you use that 15 degree, it's going to work according to the rise over the run, right? It just does. I won't get into all the trigonometry that goes into that. Why? Because I don't remember it all. I did look it up, and I'm like, do I? And I had some vague memories, so don't judge me. All right. So that's it. There's your plan. So apply those, and then let's get started with it.
You've made an excellent choice.
All right, you guys. So here we've got our board, and now we gotta actually do the marking. So what we're gonna end up doing, the bottom portion of the board is going to be what we call the feet of the ladder, and then we'll be marking the top as well. Both are going to be at that 15-degree angle. And what I'm going to choose to use is I've got a delve square, which is a 6-inch square that we'll be utilizing to find that 15 degrees. So come on in a little bit closer and I'll show you how that's done. So let's do this. Are you guys able to see that okay? So I want you to be able to see this number scale right here, okay? Now, notice if I put this flat flush against the board, I got my 90-degree angle. Now, if I want to do 15 degrees, I'm going to slowly take, this end is going to mark where I want my pivot point to be, and I'm going to rotate it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, I'm going to scribe that line, okay, with that pencil. Now, when I cut that on this bottom end, that's going to give me my 15-degree angle. So now let's go ahead and look at mark the other end, or at least the top of the board, in that same angle. All right, put it down on a scribe. All right, just like that. Okay, so we're all set. Now let's go ahead and run over to the saw and let's get these cut. Okay, all right, you guys. So again, what we're going to be doing here is we got to set this to that 15-degree to match this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to move this over. All right. And I'm going to lock it down. So that's my 15 degrees. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut both the top as well as the bottom so that we can get those going. Okay. All right. Okay, you guys, so what I've done is I've cut a smaller board just so that I can kind of show you guys and make it a little bit easier for me to manipulate the board in order to kind of show you guys. So, right, so when you look at this, this is going to be our 15-degree angle, right, as it's going up to the actual top piece. Now, notice that the angle here, this is going to be our forward-facing side of the stile, okay, or if you will, the rail, excuse me. What we're going to do is we're going to actually mark. In my particular case, I wanted to set those at 12 inches. I think other people online have done it at basically 11. You basically just can't do greater than 12. Well, let's rephrase it. You can't do greater than 12 if you want to be quote unquote OSHA compliant. But here's the honest truth. OSHA's got a bad rep, but the honest truth is they've done a lot of research. They've shown what causes the least amount of injuries. Therefore, I figured I'm not going to do that research, so I'll take their recommendation for it. So I'm going to do 12. So in a sense, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that off, and I'm going to come in here. You can kind of see that line here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark that just like that. And what I'm going to do is every 12 inches up I'm going to actually mark it off. Now, obviously, this is a scrap piece of wood, so normally I wouldn't have this kind of tear out or this notch here, but I'm going to mark the next one, 24, right? And just keep going, 36, 48, all the way up my ladder, irregardless of however tall it is, okay? So I've got those two lines. Now what we have to do is mark that angle. Now, under the assumption that this is the bottom of the board, we want to have, this is going to be the ground, if you will, right on the bottom side. Now, granted, there's going to be probably a quarter of an inch to half an inch on the bottom where the wheel will sit, so it'll be slightly elevated. But in a sense, the distance from here to here has to be the top, because that's 12. So what some people might do is they might come and mark their board here, but then that would create the top of the board now being, right, instead of 12, it would now be 13 and a half. So this has to be the top part of our actual, our rungs. Now, let's do this. I'm gonna show you how to do, how to cut those real quick. So let's get a couple of those kind of made up, all right? So come on over here and follow me. We're gonna get a nice snug. I'd almost have an undercut rather than too much, right? Because you don't want that loose. Then I'm gonna come to the other side. I'm just gonna kind of scribe that line. Now, you can see here, this is going to be the area that we're gonna, what they call trenching. And we're gonna do that with the miter saw as well. So we're gonna go over, we're gonna set our stop or our depth stop on that, and then we're gonna trench it out with our actual miter saw. So let's do that now. All right, you guys, so we're gonna go ahead and grab just a backer board. It's just kind of a filler to kind of bring it out just a little bit. We're gonna get nice and snug right there, but yet clear as my guard. Line that back up, get it nice and flush. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna proceed to continue to make those cuts all the way until I reach this line, okay? And that's what you call trenching. So you gotta move it just a little bit at a time. Now, if you want to kind of clean that out a little bit more, I like using a wood rasp. This is a little bit aggressive, and then I can go down to a finer file as well. But just this kind of this end, which still has a little bit of an uptick, if you will, or a swoosh kind of to it. I'm gonna flatten it down, get it level with everything else. All right, check that out, nice. Okay, so this is our bottom. Let's go ahead, again, one top, and then we're gonna go left. We're gonna actually, oh wow, that's, that's awesome. That is snug as a bug, and that is exactly what you want. Is that when you guys are trying to always try to sneak up on it, if this thing is loose in there, right, that's not good. So you want it to, I actually had to push that down to get that in there. That's kind of nice and that's snug. Now on my particular ladder, when you guys are marking the opposite side, right, you've got your board, remember what a lot of a mistake that people do is they put the angle the same, and assuming this board continued on, then they would mark the same angles. It doesn't work like that, you guys. So this is kind of an inverse relationship. You've got to flip the opposite side, right? So notice the angles are like this, and this one is actually gonna have the same quote-unquote bottom plate, but then the angle is gonna run the opposite side. Why? So when it's standing up, right, then it's going to match. If I did like this, mark this side, I'd have rungs on the inside and rungs on the outside of this, and that just simply will not work. So just remember to do that when you're building these out, okay? Now, let's go ahead and start putting it together. You're gonna see me in a different outfit. That's because I did this the other day and kind of got everything kind of situated. So let me go ahead and move into that. Guys, so now I'm going to actually clamp these up. Now that we've got them at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to actually put some clamps on these just on the front and the back, or basically the bottom towards the feet end of the Librian ladder as well as the top, just so we can keep it square as we're going to be drilling our pilots and eventually putting in our furniture frame anchors, if you will. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, you guys, so with this next part here, we're going to mark the center, this rung, well as the center. All right, now we're going to actually just kind of connect the two. All right, so those in a sense are going to be our two lines. Now, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to kind of measure in, and if I'm using this side, right, I think what I might do is go 1.5 inches, this side, 1.5 inches as well. Oh man, I got that Mr. Cool DIY unit. That thing is the bomb. So thankful for that. And yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so let's drill those out. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually take off the right rail, if you will, and then I'm gonna actually put the furniture anchors into them. Let me show you what those are and what I'm kind of referring to. So I'm going to be using these into the actual rungs themselves. You can see that here. It's just a little anchor. And you can see right there for actually inserting and putting it on, you use a little hex, and then it's got these little black bolts, which I think are aesthetic, but also functional and strong from a shear force perspective. So we're going to basically be taking that, and we don't want to go too short, obviously, but if you look at where the tape is, where it ends, we're going a little bit and extending beyond that. Now, I've actually gotten the bolt here. It comes in a variety of different sizes, but the one that I'm going to be using is 1 3/4 inch deep. That will go through and that will penetrate the rail as it basically then inserts into the actual rungs, if you will. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with drilling these pilots. And what you can see, obviously I just used blue tape to kind of form my marker of when I'm going to stop as far as the drilling. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I got all of the rungs drilled. This is on the opposite side now. I did the other side, and a couple things that I noted is I was originally going to do those anchors without some sort of a setting agent, but I decided that I was going to actually go back, and I'm actually going to be adding that's a clear epoxy. This is a weld, so this will actually cure, or excuse me, it'll set up in about 5 minutes, and then it'll actually cure in about an hour's time, under the assumption that it's 40 degrees or higher. If it's under that, if you're back in Minnesota, close to Lake Wobegon, it might take you a little bit longer to get this set up, if you will, as far as curing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually take those anchors, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of the epoxy, and then we're going to actually apply that to the said holes, and then also to the actual anchors. And then I'm going to let that sit, let that kind of cure, if you will, and then I'll come back and I'll add the last rung to it, facet everything down, and kind of go from there. So I'm gonna show you guys the process, maybe on one of these, and then I'll fast forward through that so you don't have to watch. Okay, so we're at, basically what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna just show you guys how to develop the end portion of it, right? That oblong kind of shape that we have. And in fact, honestly, all I'm gonna be using is a Forstner bit, right? I've got the Irwins. And our pipe is basically 3/4 of an inch, if you will. So, but for me, what I'm gonna end up doing is I actually used 1 1/4 inch. You could use, but I would recommend just like 1 1/4 inch. So I'm gonna grab that, get that all set. All right, and basically all we're gonna be doing is finding the center point to our actual board. And we're gonna be marking it, and then we're gonna mark another hole that's roughly 6 inches away. And then we're gonna basically drill both of those with the Forstner bit. I've got basically a board on the a sacrificial board on the underside, so we don't get tear out on the back side of the board that we're actually cutting. And then the honest truth is we're just gonna be using a jigsaw, and we're gonna connect the 2 lines, and that will give us it. And then at the very end, you're gonna notice on ours, that we've got a little bit of an etching, which we'll end up doing, which will give us a round over bit. You could do a chamfer, however you want to do it to go around the edges, just kind of soften it just a little bit, okay? So let's get started with that. All right, you guys, so let's go ahead and mark off our board. So again, I've got the delve square here. One of the things that I love, the 6-inch SS, is I'm gonna take my starting point here, and this is 5.5 inches, so center point is gonna be 2 3/4. Now, if you can look here, I could take my pencil, put it down at 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, put it down, pull it back along the edge, and I can scribe that center line. And then what you can see what I've done is from here to here, I basically marked off is gonna be your 6 inches, okay? So you go here to here, there's 6 inches. Perfect, okay? Just like that. So now, let's grab our Forstner bit, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start by drilling this out, making that. There we go. So that gives us our basically our 2 holes. And honestly, at this point, all that we really need to do is connect those 2 and then hit that with the jigsaw. So again, let's take that, and I want to use a precision marking, so I'm just going to line this up with this edge. I'm going to come right in here, mark this side, and then I'm just going to scribe that line. And I'm going to do that to both sides, and then all I got to do is just connect the dots, if you will, with the jigsaw, and then cut that out, all right? Okay, so that basically gives us our opening. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's put on, just to quickly, if I wanted to clean this up. Now, again, guys, this is not my main one, so I'm mainly just trying to show you the process. Obviously, I would clean this up a little bit. I've got a spindle sander that I would run on the inside, kind of clean up those walls a little bit. But once you get that basically in the shape that you want it, my encouragement to you is to do some sort of a roundover bit or a chamfer around the inside of that. And I've got a palm sander, and that just simply is a matter of bringing it in, going around, giving it that nice edge. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Holes, I've got them all cut, and then I came through here actually with a roundover bit that's set in. You can kind of see that. So I like that look. I think it kind of eases the edges just a little bit. But it turned out fantastic. So again, plans for it are to get it painted and then get some adhesive or some self-adhesive grip to it. So, all right, let's put this up. Let's see if we can get it up. thank you so much for watching. This was an absolute blast doing. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed actually making it. So this is the final version. It is painted and it is ready to go. Such a fun project. I hope you guys got value. And hey, if you did get value out of it, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button and give me a like. There's gonna be a lot more videos coming up, and there's gonna be a part 2 to this. You're probably wondering what that is, but you'll have to wait for that video coming up. See you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you later.